Today, I'm joined by a good friend of mine, incredible in the entertainment industry, has helped me on plenty of video shoots. Q, welcome to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for having me out. Appreciate it.
I want to say, first off, I appreciate you. So for some of the viewers that are watching, I'm kind of in between studios right now. And I'm like moving my space to the Stanford Town Center where I'm building. Technically, this is the first one I'm shooting in the Stanford Town Center. But Q very patiently just waited for me to set up a whole podcast set up in a room in the back of this event called the Holiday Wish. So I just want to say thank you for that, dude.
Yeah, no worries, man. No worries. It was actually an interesting seeing the hallways that we just walked through to get here. That was like its own little world. So
I call it the Chamber of Secrets, dude. I really enjoy. Again, for the listeners that are listening in, like my new podcast studio, it's not this, but the one that it's going to be is like really in like the back room. You can't, if you don't know where it is, you would never be able to find it.
I didn't even know that like malls had that in the cut.
Yeah, like, neither did I, dude, until they were like, because originally I was moving in there and they were trying to give me like a storefront.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah.
That's what I was anticipating when you said that it was here in the mall. I'm like, oh, it's going to be like a storefront thing. That's cool, but damn, how are we going to stop the noise? So when you took me into that back hallway thing, I was like, what is this? This is kind of cool, though.
It is cool, and I'm excited for it, but I want to focus on you. Maybe give people a little bit about what you do.
Sure, man. So we own me and my partner, we own a production service company and a casting agency. So we help productions of all levels, from feature films, short films, commercials, music videos, corporate videos, anything that has a camera. We help them with whatever they could possibly need, from casting, crew, props, locations, anything. I mean, catering, shuttle services, transportation, whatever you need for your production or your photo shoot or your event, we can help source it one way or another. And that's basically what we do.
Make it happen. Thank you for tuning in to the Mike Squires and Friends podcast. You can support by subscribing on YouTube or downloading on your preferred podcast platform. And definitely go do that because it helps us grow and I can have more incredible guests on the podcast. The Mike Squires and Friends podcast is proudly sponsored by DistroKid. Looking to broaden your musical horizons as an artist? Discover DistroKid. With its smooth and rewarding music distribution platform, DistroKid offers unlimited uploads while ensuring artists retain 100% of their royalties and earnings. Join the community of over 1 million artists who trust DistroKid to distribute their music across major platforms like Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, TikTok, Tidal, and so many others. Having personally used DistroKid since 2018, I can attest to their superiority amongst distribution services. Collaborating with fellow artists has become effortless, especially with the ability to easily send splits of songs, streamlining the creative process. With the DistroKid app, accessing these benefits is now more convenient than ever. Safely sign up or log in with two-factor authentication, upload releases on the fly, monitor earnings, and withdraw funds from your DistroKid bank. Stay updated on royalties through push notifications, effortlessly share hyperfollow links, manage account details seamlessly, and track streaming stats from Spotify and Apple. Additionally, explore Mixia for professional-grade mastering, DistroVid for music video distribution, and Instant Share for secure file sharing with collaborators, producers, and more. The DistroKid app is available on both iOS and Android. Download it today from the App Store or Google Play Store to revolutionize your music career. Visit distrokid.com/VIP/Mike Squires to get 30% off your first year membership. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of Mike Squires and Friends. And what are some of like the bigger productions or some of your favorite productions that you've worked on?
I mean, we've done a couple of big feature films. I'm actually working on a feature film right now as a casting director, doing the background. As far as favorite, I love the music videos, man, because it's more, creative juices flowing, more people working on stuff together, and it's not such an organized unit like the movies are, where in the movies it's a team of 100 different people, and it's kind of like everybody's on top of each other. Nobody knows who's really in charge, and it kind of becomes a little convoluted and confusing at some point, and not confusing, but maybe just like feels more like a job, right? Where the music videos for me is just like more of a fun atmosphere to create, and there's just less hands in the pot, so it's easier to get done, and it's just more of a fun time. So I definitely like doing the music videos.
Yeah, and like I came into the game as a music video director, and music videos are fun because you can have some creativities on the fly where like I'd imagine with some of the movie productions like, oh no, this is the script we got, we're sticking to this.
Yeah, like when I was first getting my feet wet in this game, and I was on music video sets with different producers and different directors, I would like give input when I shouldn't have been giving input. Right, like it just wasn't my place to be like, hey, what if you did that instead, or But a lot of the directors that I was working with and the producers that I was working with, they didn't shut me down. They weren't like, bro, shut up. This is not your job. Get the fuck out of my face. They kind of were like, yo, that's not a bad idea, or nah, maybe not today, man. Maybe not. That's not a good. You know what I mean? And it gave me room to grow. And yeah, you definitely can't do that on a movie set. Like if I were to step on a set and try to tell a director what to do in a movie, they would be like, bro, get the fuck out of my face. You know what I mean? And I get it because that's how it should be on a movie set. But that's kind of why I like the music video. It's just like an easier vibe.
And you bring up a very solid point, dude, because how you carry yourself on set is very important, dude. And like, have you seen an instance on set where you've been working with someone where you're just like, oh man, like I see your eyes rolling. That's
it's difficult because when you deal with like casting specifically and you send people to set, they're very sensitive sometimes and or overly passionate, right, about what they're trying to get into. So, you send them somewhere and they are, I don't know how to say this the right way without getting certain people upset, but can be somewhat of an annoyance because they're so passionate about furthering their career rather than understanding like you're there to do a job. You know what I mean? And different sets call for different things. You know what I mean? So if you're on a movie set, there's a different level of professionalism that you have to cater to than when you're on one of these, one of your friends' music videos. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's definitely been instances where, certain people cross lines that they normally would do with their friends' music videos, and I trusted them enough to put them on a set where they shouldn't be doing that kind of stuff, But it happens.
Yeah, when you're looking for people to cast, like what are the things that you look for in a person?
Depends on what we're casting for specifically. I mean, a lot of the times it really boils down to the look that they're going for. But what I will say is for anybody who's trying to be cast in whatever the role may be, there definitely are a few pointers that you should be like focused on. And one of them is making the life of the casting director easier, right? That's just because the one thing that you don't want to do is be remembered as somebody who made our job more difficult, because the next time that I have to cast for something and you fit the typecast, if in my head I think, oh, that person was very difficult to work with, or they did not respond well to instructions, I don't care if you look the part. I just can't even risk putting you on that set. So one of the things that I look for is if I gave you instructions, if I sent you an email that said, hey, I need you to submit this many photos, don't have a hat on, don't have sunglasses on, don't put a filter on, and you don't follow any of my instructions in the email that I sent you, it doesn't matter much else, because now I feel like if I put you on a set, you're not going to be able to follow instructions on set. And I don't want to put you in that predicament where you look bad because you weren't able to follow instructions. And I don't want to make, our company or the movie or whatever production it is look bad because we sent somebody who couldn't follow instructions.
Yeah, because if you cast somebody who you thought was good and then they're destructive on set, it probably ends up being a bad reflection of you.
Yeah, because they're like, why didn't you know that this person was like that? And that happens because you're not going to, when you're casting a lot of people for a scene or something, you're not going to know all of these people personally to know whether they're, good at what needs to be done or not, or if they're understanding or patient. Because a lot of the times on these sets, patience is like the number one thing, right? Especially if your background. Because a lot of the times, even if it's a music video, whatever the production is, if your background, a lot of the time you're spent just sitting there waiting, right? So if you're not patient, you can get aggravated and frustrated that, hey man, I've been here for 6 hours waiting, what's going on? So, so that's really important.
Yeah, and I hear a lot of time like the expression is like sit around and wait. You know what I mean? Because you'll probably wait most of the day, and then you shoot. Sometimes you shoot 15 minutes, and that's it.
And at that point, it's more about the networking that you're able to do during the time that you're there, without being overly aggressive. That's just as important. And as long as you're getting paid for the time that you're being there, sometimes you gotta wait, man, and it's just part of the game. I'd rather be waiting than doing manual labor and not getting paid as good as I could be getting paid on set. You know what I mean? Like they say it all the time, a bad day on set is still a better day than doing any other job.
No, it's real, dude. And like as someone who's, been in entertainment myself, dude, like I'll take less pay and continue doing what I'm doing than doing something that I absolutely hate, dude.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And it's because like all of us who are in that kind of field, in that industry, we've all worked other jobs and we've all hated those jobs. And it's because we weren't made for that. We weren't supposed to be doing those jobs. We're supposed to be doing the stuff in the industry that we're in now. So you never should take that for granted, because it's just like, yeah, sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's annoying, but it's still a day on set, man. And that's like a great day in my book. I'd rather be on set than anywhere else. And like we were saying earlier before we turned the cameras on, I wish that I understood and knew that at a younger age. Because if I knew that this industry in the film and TV and the production industry is where I was supposed to be, if I knew it was my calling from the jump, I wouldn't have wasted so much time waiting to get into the field,
Yeah. I think there's also some respect that comes with age too. You know what I mean? Like because I'm thinking on that too. And it's like, I think it is good to get your feet wet as soon as possible. But I think at a certain point, like, there's a big difference. Like, I know for me personally, there's a big difference between 18-year-old Mike Squires and 28-year-old Mike Squires.
And and I'm a big believer of like, the things that happen to you shape the things that are happening to you now. So it's like as much as I would like to say, oh, I wish I knew that this is the field that I should have been in when I was 18, I would have gotten so much further. Yes, obviously, like we said earlier, hindsight is 20/20, but the reality of the situation is I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't go through all of the shit that I went through and realize that, hey, no, I shouldn't have gone to school for this. No, I shouldn't have gone to barber school. No, I shouldn't. I've either failed, got kicked out, or dropped out of like 5 different higher learning institutes. And if I didn't do that, I probably would have never fell into the career that I fell into. So yeah, it took me longer to get here, but I'm glad. I love the process.
And the fact is that you found it. You know what I mean? Finding your passion is like, it's a tough thing to do in this lifetime, and people go through their entire lives and never find that thing that really gets them going, So I always say, like, as long as you found it, like, and it is so you know what? I have a good question. How did you even get into casting? Like, how did you end up in this world?
So the crazy thing is that like, so I mean, I do a lot of casting, but what I love primarily about the industry is that there's so many different aspects that you can work in. You don't have to work in one. So we do way more than casting, and the real reason that I fell into it was because I started a modeling agency. I want to say, I feel old now, like 15 years ago or something like that, something crazy. And it was difficult because in the area that I'm in, I was literally reaching out to anybody and everybody that I know who potentially could be a model, because I was just trying to make money. And I had some clients that would pay for models for photo shoots or music video shoots. And I had no shame. I would message anybody and everybody, hey, would you consider being a model? Da, 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 da. I got a lot of backlash for it, but that's how it originally started, right? And then after a while, I realized that I would have to recruit like on a weekly basis every day, spend a good amount of time just trying to find new people, because my clients, I would have a lot of repeat clients, but they wouldn't want to continue to work with the same people over and over again. So I would always have to constantly recruit. So in my head, I'm like, what can I do to save me time from constantly recruiting? Or how can I put together something where I can recruit more often? And what ended up happening was I decided, well, you know what? Maybe if I'm able to change the scenery, our clients wouldn't be so hell-bent on getting new talent. So for about 2.5 years to 3 years, we rented out locations every month for like 3 or 4 days, sometimes for a week.
You know what? I remember seeing those too.
Every month, and that shit was doing great. So we would rent out mansions, bowling alleys, barbershops, tattoo shops, abandoned restaurants, like just different unique locations. And we would have the same group of models. And I would charge photographers and music artists by the hour to rent the location and then by the hour to use the models. But it still was way less money than they would have had to spend if they would have rented the property out themselves, because I was renting it out by the hour and I had it for multiple days. So it worked for a while, right? People were like, yeah, I don't mind shooting with the same people because the scenery is different. Everything is different. You know, it's not a big deal. And
You're creating this like one-stop shop.
And then it went from, you know, now other people are seeing us doing it. It was easier to recruit. Now we didn't have to reach out to recruit. People were reaching out to us like, hey, I see you doing these shoots. I'd love to be a part of your roster. Da, 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 da. So then it went from, okay, now we're solving two problems. We're giving you talent. We're giving you a location. And then we would see people come in and they would shoot a video and it wouldn't give me the same feel as some other videos that I was working on. And it was because they either didn't have the right video guys, they didn't have the right lighting equipment, they didn't have the right whatever it might be. So then I started thinking like, well, what if we became a one-stop shop where, you know, I kind of team up with other people who do this. You know, if they want to do a podcast, I have other audio guys and video guys. If they want to do a music video, I have a lighting crew. I have, you know, so I would have packages that I can put together. Like, not only can I provide a unique location, but I can get you the video guys, the audio guys. You need a prop, you need a cop car, you need, what is it that you need? I'll find it for you. And that's how we started doing it. And then it turned into a production services thing where it's like, now we don't necessarily need to provide the location anymore where we have to rent it out. We can get it for you, but whatever you could potentially need. So it went from photo shoots to low budget music videos to high budget music videos to commercials and corporate videos and short films, TV pilots, movies. And we stopped doing the locations because COVID, right? When COVID hit, our locations business took a big hit doing that monthly thing. People just stopped showing up because nobody wanted to be in close quarters filming or taking pictures or doing anything like that. So I had to switch it up. Like, what am I going to do? And that's when we decided to switch it from, doing everything on our own in one spot to providing services wherever you could possibly need it. You know what I mean? And that's how I got into casting and production services, because we just started reaching out to people like, hey, listen, we can still get you the location. We're just not going to have it available every single month. And whatever else you could potentially need, we'll get it for you. And then that's kind of how I just stumbled into the, film and TV industry.
Yeah, and the thing too, and maybe we could talk on this a little bit, because I know you know this and I know this, but someone who's like green in the game might not know this, but that your network is everything.
It's so big. It's so important to have a network and to really secure your network and take care of the people in your network, right? Now, I don't want to give too many of my secrets away, but the beautiful thing about me is I never really had a huge network, right? I'm not, how's the way that I should say this? I'm not really like a people person. I was never good at making and securing friends, and I just was never good at it. But I'm good at selling myself. So even though my network isn't big, even to this day, my network is not that huge, but the people in my network have very large networks, right? So with keeping the right people in my network, I've managed to obtain a massive network without having it on my own. And so now, and I feed the people that feed me. So I'll reach out to my people. Like I have, a dear friend of mine who's really big in the real estate game, right? So when I need a location, I go to my real estate network. He goes to his network, he finds me something, I break him off whatever it is that we make from it, right? And then I know somebody who is deep into the, the studio game or, the videography or whatever it is, and I'll reach out to them when I need something, and they reach out to their network. And through extension, I've grown a massive network based on the people that I keep inside of my network.
Yeah, and I see a lot of people, they'll say don't work with your friends, but I feel like in entertainment industry, you're pretty much only working with your friends, dude. You work with people because you like them.
Yeah, what ends up happening is you end up making friends based on who you're working with, rather than just working with friends. You end up making friends because it's like we're passionate about the same stuff. We can make money together. If you help me make money, I help you make money. It's just a cycle that keeps feeding itself, and that's really important in this game. And that's what I really, really try to focus on, is helping the people who help me make money so they can continue to help me make money, you know. But yeah, you end up working with people who end up becoming friends, you know, that you didn't really realize that at first, or at least I didn't. I don't work with a lot of my friends, but a lot of the people that I work with became friends.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's really interesting too, because it's like, you know, having friends like in the entertainment industry, it's like, I just feel like everyone kind of knows everyone is the point I'm trying to allude to. And this actually goes to a bigger point of reputation, where because everybody knows everybody, if you're over here doing some fuck shit, I'm telling you, the one person that you screwed over knows, but so does everybody in their circle too.
Especially nowadays with the way things are nowadays, you know, you do one wrong move and the whole world knows about it with social media. Everybody has a platform. Anybody can have a platform and just can badmouth you if you need to. But at a certain point though, you know, you have to make sure that you're not doing anything crazy, obviously, but you can't, because it's everywhere. You can't be solely focused on trying to please everybody, right? Because it's impossible, and it's an endless and a thankless job trying to do that. And like you can't. So I try not to do that, but I also try not to do anything crazy that's gonna get me canceled or anybody around me, you know.
Yeah, it is crazy too. I've had like, and I feel like I'm someone who's like very like, I don't do anything. I do a podcast. I'm a music producer. Like, but I've gotten some crazy messages too where I'm like, damn, like, and I don't know how you handle it, but maybe I handle it in a way that like I'm very kind, but I'll like be very nice and I'll try to like diffuse the situation. I'll just be like, yo, my bad. Like whatever I did, I didn't mean to do, like obviously. And a lot of times it's people that actually don't even really know me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
over the years, I've developed a different level of calmness and patience that I didn't have when I was younger. I used to be really angry and would fly off the handle pretty quickly. But over the years, like I said, I've become very calm, very patient. So I deal with a lot of people who get frustrated, especially when casting. You know what I mean? Because everybody feels like they deserve a spot or they should have got it. Why didn't I get it? And, you know, and they start attacking you personally when it's like, my job is just to put you in front of the people. And the people make the decision. I have no say in it. But a lot of people get bent out of shape over certain things and they attack you personally for it. And they really, like I've been into a couple altercations recently where people are upset about something that either happened on set or, you know, that they didn't get a part or that they weren't considered or that, you know, the production wasn't willing to pay them what they felt they were worth and would attack me personally. And 15 years ago, it would have been an argument. You know, I would have made a whole thing about it. And now it's more just like, hey, man, I understand what you're saying, man, and I apologize that I can't help you more, but unfortunately, it is what it is. This is the industry that we're in, and there's not much that I can do. I don't have the pull that the director has where he can decide on who gets what. You know what I mean? So all I can do is fight for you guys to get fair wages and to get treated well on set and to get a fair chance. And that's pretty much all I can do. So I try not to let anything get me to get to that point, man. And I'm so blessed that I'm patient enough to where that stuff doesn't really faze me anymore. So
yeah, the entertainment industry is so cutthroat, dude. So it's like, I mean, if you're getting into this, you know, you got to get some thick skin.
Some thick skin, yeah. You got to have some thick skin and be able to either be patient or to, you know, be polite when you're having these disagreements. You know what I mean? And because honestly, you know, it's easy. It's not that it's easy, but being polite while you're having these disagreements kind of also puts people in their place in a nice way. You know what I mean? It's like it's easier to win, you know, when you're nice about a situation and you're polite about it and just, you know, showing people like, hey, I don't have to stoop to that level. You know, I'll be patient. And then they get more aggravated with it and they just kind of leave the argument alone.
Yeah, I don't judge people by how they react to when I tell them yes. I judge people on how they act when I tell them no, because that's when you see their true colors.
Or how they react when they're put in a situation that might not be favorable to them in any aspect, right? In any way. That's how I not necessarily how I judge people, but how I, you know, critique on whether I would prefer to work with you again in the future.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Like that's how I make my decision.
I'm in the same spot with that. Yeah,
it's based on how you react when you're put in a situation. Because in the world that we're in the industry that we're in, nothing. I don't care how much money you have in your budget. I don't care how many professionals you have on your set. there has never been a production that I've stepped foot on where everything goes right. For the most part, everything goes wrong, and there's always a fire to put out, right? So when you have the attitude of like things are gonna be okay, we're gonna work through this, no matter what happens, we're gonna make it work. It's gonna be more in your favor than if you're gonna be, having an attitude because one thing didn't go your way or two things went wrong during it. It's just, that's life, man. And that's definitely the life that we're in. So you got to deal with it. And if you don't have the thick skin to do that, then you should choose a different industry. Yeah.
And you bring up a good point too, because, even with my own productions, a lot of the time you have to adapt on the spot because, you didn't get the shot done in time. You lost the location. Someone didn't show up. There's a million things that happen on. So if you're getting in this industry, you have to be good on the fly. And, there are a lot of people that I know personally that kind of run their life on a schedule, and it's like, it's got to be that schedule. But if you're trying to make it an entertainment, like that's got to.
It's out the window, man. I mean, listen, a lot of the problems that happen in the industry and on set happen because of a lack of organization. That's just a fact. But it doesn't matter how organized you were and how much time you spent being organized. Something is going to go wrong. And if you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, then there's certain industries that you should not be a part of. And the film industry or just, productions in general is one of those fields where if you're not comfortable being uncomfortable, it's not the world. It's not the world that you should be in because it can get very uncomfortable. And that's where I thrive.
Do you have an instant that you could talk about of like something going wrong on set?
I mean, there's too many to think of one specifically. Let me see if I can. I don't want to spend too much time trying to think.
No, you're good because I could cut it down.
All right. Let me think where something went wrong. I mean, I'm working on this. And no shade to anybody, but I'm working on this Tallywood film, which is like Bollywood but a different dialect.
Yes.
So it's an Indian film, and the crew, they're all from India, and they came out here to Connecticut to film a feature film that they're doing out here. And some of them are a little bit inexperienced, and it's just a cultural barrier and a language barrier. They speak English, everything's fine, but they brought me on last minute, right? There was an issue with a different casting director. And again, no shade to anybody. I don't know the situation. A buddy of mine reached out to me and was like, "Hey, this film is filming in Hartford for like a couple weeks. They need help with background and with some other stuff. Can you help them out?" And I'm like, "Hey, man, yeah. If you need help, I'm down to help. Let's see how we can make it work." And because of not I don't want to say it's because of the inexperience, but because of the last minuteness of it all, of me kind of being interjected into the film while the film was happening, there was just always one problem after another, almost daily, where it was, oh, we need this many people. Oh, but we need them at this time and they have to look like this. And you only have 12 hours to do it. Right. So it's like, it wasn't necessarily that something was going wrong. It was more so we had to last minute fix everything around it. And, we did it. We made it work, for like 2 weeks every single day because they were working Sunday through Sunday, right? We made it work. But there were problems. Like sometimes it was, we need this many people. Half of them don't show up because they weren't paying. It wasn't that they weren't paying enough, but they weren't paying enough for last minute rush calls. Like, you need me to find somebody in 12 hours. We have to pay more money, right? Because people have lives and they're not just going to give up what they had planned last minute without paying extra money. So some people didn't show up. Then I'd have to scramble to get other people. Then it was, oh, you know what? Since we didn't get enough people, we're going to scratch that scene. Can you get us a cop car instead? And we're going to do a cop scene. And, oh, by the way, we need this in 10 hours. Oh, yeah, I can do that for you, actually. And we called my cop car guy, right? My cop car guy came, called my guy who already has a cop uniform. He came, and we knocked out the scene. So it's like, sometimes you have to do that. Now, am I going to sit here and say it wasn't annoying and we weren't frustrated and me and the producers weren't yelling at each other for about 5 hours? Yeah, we definitely had arguments, and it definitely was heated, but we got the shots that they needed to get, and that's what mattered.
Yeah, again, the end goal, too. And, there's the age-old expression, failing to prepare is preparing to fail, dude. And it's like, This is another good point. How long do you think you need in advance really to like put something together properly?
It's never to me, at least, it's never about the time needed. It's about the money that we have, right? Do we have anything can be done in any given amount of time? We were just talking about this earlier too, right? About how certain things take longer because we don't have the money for it. So it depends on what the budget is. It always boils down to what the budget is, right? Because some people bite off more than they can chew. So it's not a matter of, oh my God, we gotta build a whole set in 2 days and we have to cast 500 people. No, we can do it, man. Do you have the money for it? If you don't have the money for it, then now we have to schedule things out differently, right? And now I need more time to get you what you need. So it's never I need 10 people who look exactly like this. And yes, we can get it, but I just need the money to put the casting out there because now I'm not going to be able to get it through my network. I'm going to have to pay to promote, to get the word out there and get people who might not be in our network to come out. So it's really more of a budgetary thing than it is a time limit.
Yeah, because it's like, it's a lot to expect for you to like be able to put something together very quickly and be like, oh yeah, we don't have the money for this.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, you got to give me something to work with here.
Yeah, like I pride myself on being able to get stuff pretty quickly. Like even for that film that I was just talking about, they literally needed a cop car in 10 hours. And it's just crazy how the world works because I usually have a guy for everything. And 2 weeks before that, I wouldn't have had a cop car guy, right? I've always was looking for one, but I just never was able to. I would always have to try to reach out to actual police officers that I know and see if there was a way, and there was never a way. But literally 2 weeks before that, Webby had Chris Webby was shooting a music video, and their producer, shout out Ray, hit me and was like, yo, we need a cop car. I'm like, I've always been trying to find one. And you know what? We're going to find it. And sure enough, I reached out to and shout out to David. I reached out to my friend, a close friend, David, who's in the real estate world, like I was telling you, because he has a massive network. I said, David, I need a cop car, man. I know it's not your field. I know it's not your world, but he's like, yeah, man, I'll make a post on Facebook for it. Don't worry about it. Just check the comments. Makes a post, like 4 different people with cop cars, right? And I reached out to one of them, and one of them happens to be a guy who's like, not only do I have cop cars, right, but I can put whatever fucking sticker you want on there. You wanted to say Hartford Police, you wanted to say Norwalk Police, you wanted to say Stanford Police, whatever you want. It's got lights, it's got the cage, it's got this, da 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 da. And next thing you know, I'm meeting with like 4 or 5 different people who have the same thing. So now I have a repertoire of picture cars available. So literally because of that and because of the network that we were just talking about, how it's so important, I was able to get the Tallywood film, the cop car, like that.
Yeah, it's like Saul Goodman. You got a guy for it.
Yeah, man. You have to have a guy for it, or a guy who's got a guy for it. Like in my instance, that's generally what it is. I don't always have. I usually have the guy for it. But if I don't have the guy for it, I got a guy who got the guy for it. You know
yeah, that was very Saul Goodman. But I want to take it back a little bit because you said you worked a ton of like other jobs pre getting into production and casting. It's like, maybe we could just brush over them quickly. But what are some of the other jobs that you had, and maybe something that you learned from each one of them, whether it was good or bad?
What I learned from every single job that I had was that I was destined to not work for another person. Because for the most part, every job that I ever had, I got fired from, right? I got fired. My very first job, I was 15. It wasn't even legal for me to be working. I was working at Wendy's, and I was getting paid like $8 an hour. That's just to show my age, right? And I ended up getting fired. I got fired from Shaw's in Boston. I used to live in Boston. They actually fired me because they told me that they could prove that I was stealing food. And
that's like the Mediterranean food spot?
No, Shaw's
or like halal?
Nah. Shaw's like the shop, the grocery store.
Oh, grocery store. I've never been to a Shaw's.
Yeah.
But...
So in Boston they call them Star Market. Right?
Okay.
Or Star Market, right? And I used to be the overnight stocking. I mean, we were 19 years old, 20 years old, whatever. Overnight stocking, and 11 to 7, right? And every morning on Thursdays, your check would be printed out, so you'd have to come and pick it up because they didn't have direct deposit. So I would get out at 7, the checks would clear at 9. So I would just wait, right? Because I'm not gonna take the train all the way to my apartment, take the train back just to pick up my check. So I would wait and I would have breakfast, right? They had this buffet breakfast. I would go get the buffet breakfast. I would pay for it at the cashier, eat, and then collect my check and be out. And the manager calls me, and he's like, we know that you're stealing the breakfast every week. Da 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 da. We got video. Da da da. And I'm like, all right, man, I'm coming in tonight. You show me the video and let's talk about it. And because I know I swear to God, I never stole from these people. I don't know what the hell they were talking about. They must have had me confused with somebody else. And I come back. And I'm like, so what's up, man? Show me the video. Like, da, da, da. Like, no, you're fired. You have to leave. You can't. And I'm like, no, show me the video that you have of me stealing. And it became a whole altercation, and it became a pushing match. And, it wasn't like a fight or anything, but they never were able to show me the video. I don't know. They just wanted to fire me for. So it's like a lot of jobs that I had. So I worked for Shaw's. I worked for Hollywood Video. I worked for Wendy's. I worked for Ocean State Job Lot. And there's a bunch of other ones there too, and I just was never good at it. So I always told myself I'm gonna have to make it in school. That didn't work. I went to school after school after school after school, either getting, kicked out, or I just wasn't able to handle showing up to every single class. So I got kicked out of a school in Boston, because I used to live in Boston, because my grades weren't good enough, and I was missing classes, and I was on a financial aid thing where they wouldn't give you the money if you didn't hit the certain grades. So they ended up kicking me out. So it's just a lot of trial and error, realizing that, no, I'm not built for the workforce. It's not in the cards for me. I just, so after a while I realized I got to try to do it on my own.
Yeah. And, it's really interesting because, someone listening, I don't know if it's like this for kids in school growing up now, but I know that when I was in school, there was a lot of pressure to either A, get a job right away, or B, got to go to college and then get a job. That was kind of the path. And even at one point I was getting pushed more towards military. Anyone who knows me, it's I'm mad soft, dude. There's just no world where but the point I'm trying to get to is that, there's more than one way of living. Yeah. You don't need to do these things too. And, for a long time, I felt the pressures. Even when I started seeing success as a video guy in music, I still had that lingering pressure of I don't know if this thing's guaranteed. I don't know what's next. And then you still have people and especially when you're starting out in anything entertainment, the age-old question I'd get from friends, family, are you making money yet? Are you making money yet? And for the first, whatever time, the answer is no. You're not making money. You're just trying to get your name out there.
And it's crazy because the real question they should be asking you is, are you happy? Right? Because there's so much, like you said, there's so much pressure to, this American dream. You go to college, right? You get a job, and you get married, you buy a house, you have kids. That's how it's supposed to be. And, from the jump. And I just never agreed with that, right? Because I look at it and I'm like, I wasted so much time going to school, getting all of these bills. I'm still paying student loans, right? And for what? To get a piece of paper that allows me to work for another man. I'm going to get in debt so that I can help this man pay his debt off. I'm not really making real money. I'm making this person real money, and I had to spend money to get the right to make you more money. No, I never agree with that. And it took me so long to realize, no, I'm not built for this, man. This is not what I'm supposed to do. I don't like it. So, finally in my last real job, was working for a nursing agency. Shout out to my mother, because she was running it, and she helped a lot of our family get into this job, and it paid pretty decent. But it was annoying, not so much annoying, but just frustrating. Constantly dealing with people. We were sending nurses to different facilities and whatever. But I took the blueprint, and again, I don't like giving out secrets and stuff, but I took the blueprint of how that business model worked with scheduling nurses, and I flipped it into scheduling talent. for productions and models and dancers and videographers and whatever. And I literally took the same blueprint of their business model and I just applied it to my business. And that's how I created our agency. I literally took the nursing agency that I was working with, I just flipped the model and I made it for our casting agency and for our production service company. And I worked there. That was the one job that I didn't get fired from, right? And I couldn't because my mother was the manager. So it's not that I couldn't get fired, like she wouldn't fire me. Because the person above her would if they had to.
Well, you had to be on your best behavior.
I had to make sure I was on my toes because my mother's reputation's on the line. So I worked there for about like 8 years, and I just stacked my money, right? Because I knew I hated it, and I was like, this is not for me, right? School's not for me. This job is not for me. What the hell can I do? So I hustled, I did my own thing on the side. I was always an entrepreneur, so I would always make money flipping one thing or another, whatever that was. But after I was able to save enough money, we started opening recording studios. Me and my brothers, me and my peoples, we opened one recording studio in Hamden. Then we went to a bigger one in Wallingford. And we went to a bigger one in Meriden. And, so from that point on, I kind of told myself, like, I'll never have like a regular full-time job again because I can't. It's not built for me. And even to this day, my mother will just ask the same stuff that you're saying. Are you making money? And yeah, I'm making money, but it'll be like, are you okay? Are you like going to be able to pay all your bills? And you have a lot of bills every single month. You're going to be able to care. And I'm just like, yo, I would rather be broke and happy, like, and enjoy what I'm doing. Like, honestly, I would rather be broke and happy than have a lot of money and be miserable that I got to work 40 to 50 hours a week for another person, making them rich while still barely getting by and just not having the time. Now, when I work in the field that we work in now, I'm still working those 40, 50, 60 hours a week, right? But a lot of it I get to do from home, or I get to do in an environment that I enjoy being in with people that I enjoy being around. You know what I mean? So it's like, even though at the end of the day, when we do these music videos, right? And shout out to Ray, because whenever we're on set together, we kind of do a little competition on who did the most steps. But you can see, like, we're doing 25, 30,000 steps sometimes, in one day doing these productions. So at the end of the day, you're beat as shit. And you're just like, bro, I just want to go home and lay down. But it was a great day. Like, it was still a fun time. So I would much rather, struggle to make my money and make my money assignment to assignment, gig to gig, than working a full-time job and just hating myself for it.
Yeah, and you're not taking 30,000 steps because you hate something. You're doing it because you know what I mean? Like, to be doing it.
You don't even realize it until the end of the day, right? When you're on your 5th Red Bull and you're just like, damn, my feet hurt. Why do my feet hurt? Oh, 30,000 steps. That's why my feet hurt. All right, I'll be all right.
Yeah, and
let's do it again tomorrow.
I think we're going to see, and I feel about this from when I started. I started with video in like 2011, 2012. And I feel like when I started, there weren't that many video guys.
Yeah.
But, from then to now, there's so many video guys. And I just feel like, just as entrepreneurs as a whole, I feel like more and more people, because it's more accessible now, are going to like leave school and become an entrepreneur because they can see that it's possible, especially with the, we got social media. There's so many ways to get out there and kind of find a path for your own that like you may not have known about just because the information might not have been out there, Yeah,
and it's not me saying like nobody should go to school, and because some people's path is that, you know what I mean? It's just nowadays, because everything is so available, right? It's like, why are you paying so much money to learn shit you can learn on YouTube?
Yeah.
Right? Like, in my opinion, I tell this to my nephew, I tell this to my little cousin, like, man, the school, if that's the way you want to go, that's cool. But you guys have so much potential and so much resources at the tip of your fingers that none of us had growing up, that if you were just to take advantage of, you wouldn't have to fall into these traps and end up owing so much money to an institution that has no, gratitude for you in the first place. You can learn literally anything from YouTube or from Google, just researching shit, just finding stuff online. You can, but if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer.
I was just about to bring it up, dude.
Absolutely. Go to school, because you're not going to get better, you know what I mean? But if you're going to school to learn stuff a trade that you can learn online or learn from somebody who knows it, or just get the experience by being in the workforce doing it, I feel like you could be wasting time and money.
There are certain career paths that call for school.
Absolutely.
You know, like you would never go like, if you're like, yo, I got this buddy, he's like a doctor. If you just show up at his basement tonight, like he'll check you out real quick, you know, like you'd be sussed out. But it's like, yo, I got a boy who has like a fleet of cop cars that you could use for a shoot. Go to check his house. You're like, oh,
you know
I'm going.
I mean? Yeah.
You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, and then you know, school is for certain people too. You know, it's just even if it's not a trade where I think you should be going to school for. Some people, you know, do better in those environments. What I'm saying is that it's just not for everybody, and people shouldn't be pressured to feel like it's the only route for them, right? Because it's not. And again, I always feel like and everybody feels like this, but I always feel like if I can go back to my 18-year-old self. You know, one of the things that I would tell him is, get the fuck out of school, bro. What are you doing? You're wasting so much time and so much money. You could be making money right now in networking and meeting the right people and just getting into the field that you want to be in. But who the hell knows what they want to do at that age when you're going from high school to college? But that's also my problem, right? With that thought that you got to go right from high school to college is how. You can't expect somebody at that age to know what they want to do for the rest of their life, and to kind of force them to make such a big decision, you know, on how much money they're going to be spending for the rest of their lives on an education without them really knowing what they want to do with the rest of their lives is kind of just like mind blowing to me.
Yeah, and I think if you have a dream or passion that's outside, I think you got to at least try. My whole goal for the Mike Squires and Friends podcast, like it's basically, I really want to be catered towards people who like have a dream, have a goal, and like kind of, I really would, what would be rewarding for me is if like, you know, someone was like listening to the podcast and they're like, you know what, I had a dream or a goal and I gave it, even if they don't do it all the way to the max, but like at least gave it a shot. Because that's starting is the hardest part. You know what I mean? Once you're able to rip off that Band-Aid, take that leap and try it, that's where things start to get cool, because then one, you get a little experience and, you know, you could see if it really is for you. And if you're enjoying it, you'll just keep going further down. Yeah. And we were talking about this earlier too, where it's like most businesses don't make money for the first 2 years. You know what I mean? So it's like, if you're getting into a business, like maybe not prioritize, like, listen, I know it's going to be hard, but like you can start a business while having other hustles. Yeah. Like you could be at your job making money and also starting up a job, like, cause you need money to live. We all know this, right? Yeah. Obvious. Yeah, but eat. Like, you know, start your passion and be smart about it, but you really can build it into something bigger, but just, you got to give yourself time. You know what I mean?
You got to be willing to struggle a little bit too, man. That's the thing, is that, you know, this generation, this world, we're so infatuated with instant gratification that if we don't see results right away, we just give up on it and don't want to pursue it anymore. And that's such a backwards way of living for me. I'm honestly more focused on being content with what I have and being focused on getting more than solely being focused on getting to the results right now, because then you don't get to enjoy the process. You don't get to enjoy the ride. And life is too fucking short, man, to not enjoy the ride. You know, my brother, rest in peace, my brother passed when he was 24, about to turn 25. And like one of the things that I learned from him the most was just to enjoy life, because you don't know how much longer you have. And it's like we spend all of this time trying to focus on, oh, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? We never get to actually enjoy the ride. You know, so focused on what's next that we're not enjoying what's happening now. And that's just not, to me, a healthy way to live or a fun way to live, man. I want to have fun. I want to enjoy doing what I do, right? If I don't become a millionaire, my goal is to be a millionaire, man. That's everybody's goal, is to make enough money where you don't have to worry about shit, right? And I hope and I believe that one day I can get there. But it's not my main objective. My main objective is to live a happy life. It's to be happy. And it's for the people around me to be happy. And it's going to help if I can make a good amount of money to get these, you know, the people around me happy. But if that's the only thing that's going to make us happy, then what the fuck are we doing? You know, it's not, there's so much more to life to enjoy than to become some super billionaire.
And it's so easy to get caught up though, too. You know what I mean? Because like, it's kind of like what you're saying with what's next, because as a person, I think naturally, you always want to get to the next rung on the ladder. You always want to know, like, how can we level this thing up? But you really do need to enjoy the journey and the process, because eventually this journey has an end, and you don't want to look back and just be like, oh man, I didn't really take any of that in, and now I'm here, So give yourself time to really soak it all in.
To enjoy yourself and do it while you're younger, right? Because again, we don't know, like who knew that my brother was gonna pass at 24, right? Who knows when your time is up? Nobody does. So instead of us focusing on, where am I gonna be at when I'm 60? You don't know if you're gonna be here when you're 60. Why don't you focus on today? Today is a good day to have a good day. You know what I mean?
Q, if there's something you want people to take away from you, like, what's your message to the world?
And just enjoy life and focus on the things that make you happy, and just man, just focus on the things that make you happy. Try to do something that makes you happy every day, right? And try to find a way to make your living doing what makes you happy. That's the best thing that you can try to do. If you're gonna focus so much on, what's the next step for me, focus on finding that step that's also gonna make you happy on top of being able to survive off of it.
Yeah, and I think if you are in a position where you are unhappy, know that it's okay to change things up, because I know people are sometimes scared because it's like, they've been in there. When you have a lot of time invested in something, it's scary to lose that thing, knowing that thing's kept you afloat.
And that's the other thing too, man. Is you can't be scared to fail, man. I don't believe that I'm someone that people should aspire to be, because I'm not at the top of my industry, of my, whatever. But from where I've come from to where I am now, there's a big leap, and it took a lot of failures to get there. Right? Like I told you, we've had multiple studios where we opened one studio, we went to a bigger studio, and now there is no studio. Studio failed. We opened the largest nightclub in Connecticut, right? And we were open for 6 months before the business didn't fail. It was just, other things that happened along the ride that, the business didn't go as planned, right? But there was a lot of money that was spent into that business. There was a lot of money made, but it's not here anymore, right? And all of those things that happen, all of those failures that happen, each time they propelled me to something greater. They put me on the path to do something else, right? The studio shut down. After the studio shut down, I started looking for a bigger spot to do the studio, and that took me to the nightclub. Then I landed a nightclub. I had no business owning a fucking nightclub. Let's just be real. Let's just call a spade a spade. But not only did I own a nightclub, I also had a recording studio inside a nightclub. And it didn't work out how it was supposed to. But after it didn't work out, I got to meet certain people that helped put me in a position, because I was so focused on trying to find an investor to help me get our way out of the shithole that the landlord at that fucking club put us through. And I was so focused on doing that I met good friends. I met new people who didn't necessarily want to be involved with the nightclub, but wanted to be involved with me and help me get to a position where I can start working on films and start working on bigger movies and start casting and start doing these other things that I start realizing this is what I really wanted to do the entire time. And I never would have gotten there if I didn't fail with the studios, if I didn't fail with the nightclub, if I didn't fail with all of these other things. And what I realize is every time that I fail, the people around me are like scared shitless. My wife scared. Like, when are things gonna go right? My mother was like, "Hijo, you're spending too much time and too much money on this stuff, and you're it's not working out for you." Da 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 da. And every single time I tell people like, "Yo,
we're good.
I got this.
Yeah,
we're gonna figure it out. It's all right. Stuff is gonna go wrong, right? But it's gonna put us in a position to win. Give me 5 years, give me 6 years." And then my wife is like, "Yo, you said that 3 years ago. give you another year. And I'm like, yeah, but we're not in a better spot than we was, right? We were living dead smack in the hood in New Haven, in the middle of the hood, probably the worst part that you can live in. We was there. We're not there no more. We got a nice apartment, big spacious, loft, artistic loft spot. Now we're good, and maybe we're not exactly where we want to be, but we will get there if we just realize that these failures are just stepping stones to get us to where we need to go.
Yeah, and sometimes you don't really see your progress like when you're in it, right? So it's like, sometimes someone might feel like it's the end of the world right now, but it's like, think about where you were a couple of years ago. We're in such a better spot.
When you compare like where you started from to where you are, man, you start to really realize like, holy shit,
we did this thing.
Yeah, I've done way more than I thought I was gonna, because for a while my main goal was to open a recording studio. Did it. And we've had it for years, right? Maybe it's not around anymore, but we had it for years. Then, before my brother passed, rest in peace, our goal when I was young, our goal was to open a nightclub or a strip club that had a recording studio inside of it. Guess what? I did that shit. We did it. Maybe we didn't have it for a very long time, and we're still in litigations over it now. We're going to win. But we did it. You know what I mean? After he passed, I was able to do that. I had an office inside of a nightclub with a recording studio with my brother's painting on it. You know what I mean? Like, we did it. So every time, things don't go the way you think they're going to go, figure out how to turn it into a win. And as long as you could, that would probably be my message, right? There's a win in everything. Figure it out. Figure out how to flip it into a win, right? Now, like I said, the club stuff didn't go our way, but we're still in litigations on it. If we win the litigation, guess what? I'm doubling up my money that we put into that shit, and we're going to run it back. You know what I mean? So it's like there's never an end, man. As long as you're still breathing, there's still an opportunity for you to take that loss and turn it into a win. And that's what people should focus on.
And sometimes you don't realize, like, just trying might open the door to something new. Like, for a perfect example, this podcast, there was no point in my life where I was like, yo, I should become a podcaster. You know what I mean? I wasn't like, I never had that thought for myself, but Ian Bick, who we talked about earlier, he was like, Mike, I know you have the guests. He's like, just come use my studio, start this podcast. So, I did a couple episodes. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. And then it started becoming really cool because, a lot of time I'm doing projects with musical artists, right? So I'm able to highlight them. But there's a lot of people that work behind the scenes like yourself who, aren't always out there and able to talk and like have the platform. So it was cool because I was able to highlight people that are in my life and that I'm friends with that typically don't get the full shine that they deserve. And then it also gave like a deeper dive. Like I started to learn more about each one of my friends too. So I was like, oh, this is very cool. But the point I'm trying to pull it to is like, I just tried it and it worked for me. You know what I mean? And I enjoy it. And
guess what? If it didn't work for you, you would have found that out, and it probably would have took you to somewhere else to find something that did. And that's ultimately what it's all about, man. Like I said, when the club, when we got into this big lawsuit for the club, and we had to pull out, I was looking for investors like nonstop because the situation that we were in, the landlord of the establishment had a problem with my partners, and he wanted me to get my partners to step down and to find new investors to take over the business. And he had certain leverage over it, but I thought he was allowing me to do this. So I was spending day in and day out trying to find investors, and I was able to talk my previous partners into stepping down, into allowing me to find investors. So I was spending every waking minute looking for investors, finding investors, and I found multiple people to come in with me. It didn't pan out because the landlord was a piece of shit and was lying the whole time, but and I probably shouldn't talk so much about this because we are in litigations, but that path, like I said, it took me to meet a lot of different people that now I call friends that help me in other environments, right? Like one of the people in that network that I was telling you about who happens to have a massive network is somebody who I met because I was literally balls to the wall trying to find an investor. It was so real that I was literally ghost messaging people on Facebook. Like I don't care if I don't know you. I would go into these real estate groups and I would just, oh, you're into real estate? Oh, you might have a good amount of money. Boom, here's my pitch deck. What's up? Are you interested? Do you want to get involved? And I want to say I sent that message out to like literally maybe 3,000 people in the course of a month and a half. And out of those 3,000 people, maybe like 100 of them responded to me, showed interest, and maybe like 5 or 10 of them were like, yo, I hate this business idea, but I love your moxie. What's up? Let's talk about other shit. And now I do business with them. I make money with them. They help me expand my network. And now I can call on them when I need a favor. Hey man, can you post this for me? Hey man, do you happen to know somebody who has this? I'll give you a kickback if you can help me find it. And now they have helped me establish myself in this industry as somebody that you'll call when you need something, right? And I wouldn't have been able to do that if I didn't fail. And if I wasn't okay with failing, and if I wasn't okay with the people around me telling me that I'm failing and like waiting for me to accept failure and defeat and just like put my tail between my legs and still seeing that the people who love me, and it wasn't because they didn't believe in me, it's because they were scared for me and they were just like, bro, like you're going through it right now. Just stop and stop hurting yourself. And I'm like, bro, I'm not. I got this and I'm going to take care of it. We're going to be fine. I'm going to take care of all of y'all. We're going to be straight. And that's what being able to turn your fails into a win is about. You know what I mean? And that is just how I try to live every single day. Shit is going to go wrong. Let's just figure out how to make it right. Let's stop complaining. Let's stop talking about the problems and let's focus on the solution. You know? That's how I try to live my life. And anybody who works for me has probably heard that from me before, right? Anybody who works for me has probably heard, don't bring me problems, bring me solutions. Don't come to me and tell me there's a problem that you want me to fix. Come to me and tell me I fixed the problem. And now I'm going to hire you again. Right? But if you come to me with a problem like, hey, Q, how can I fix this? How can I fix this? What the fuck am I paying you for? You can't, no, I need people who are around me who are just, not even just because I don't want to deal with problems, but just for everybody's mental health. Like, let's just focus on how we can fix it. If you don't have the solution, that's cool. That's fine. I'm not saying don't bring me problems, only bring me solutions. What I'm saying is don't bring me a problem without an idea on how to solve it.
No,
right?
That's fair too, because that's the thing. And it kind of goes back to what we were saying in the beginning of the podcast when, like, when you're casting people, you don't want to be a pain in the butt to the director. And the whole thing with entertainment industry is like people work with people because they like them and like you want to provide more value. And Q, I'm going to start pulling this to the end zone. So the last thing I want to talk to you about is if there's someone out there that's listening right now and that they might be on a downtrend, they might be in their eyes failing, what advice would you have for them?
Keep failing. Keep failing. You alive, you breathing, you eating, and you ain't failed yet. You don't fail until you 6 feet under. You know what I mean? So keep failing, fail again, and fail again. Because every time you fail, you're going to learn something, right? And it's not about how many times you fail. It's about how many times you were able to get up from that failure and keep trying. Because that's all that it's about, right? And if you're going to let the failures bring you down, then you might as well not have tried in the first place. But you spend so much time trying, why are you going to stop trying now? Keep failing, man. And don't be scared of it. Embrace the shit. Embrace the failure. Yeah, I fucked up. Yeah, I failed. Yeah, I made a mistake. But guess what? The get back is going to be even better. And that's it.
Q, I appreciate you coming on the podcast today, dude.
Appreciate you for having me out.
And I appreciate you rocking with me in this H&M career hiring room. As we're building the Mike Squires and Friends podcast studio right now. But, you just got to work with what you can until you can get to where you got.
This is part of the process, man. And I'm glad to be here. And when we see what you turn it into is going to be even better. But I'm going to be proud to be able to say that I was one of the first people in this environment that you're creating out here.
Yeah, dude. Well, thank you again for coming on, dude.
No doubt.